Well. Welcome to another Rise and Thrive. I am your host. I guess that's not really good, is it? I'm looking down on my phone. Welcome to another Rise and Thrive, where we are rising out of our financial slump and thriving in financial freedom. I'm your host, Dr. A.D. Burns, and this is my co-host, Brother Minister James Jones. How you doing, Brother Jones?
Oh, I'm doing good, Pastor. I'm doing good.
Listen. This is another episode of Financial Friday. Last week, we ran out of time. Man, that time went so fast, and we ran out of time right in the midst of some good conversation there. And so we want to pick it up where we left off last week. But before we do that, want to know who's out there with us today. So I'm gonna let James do his intro to his grinders, and then we want you to type it in the chat. Come on, James.
Oh yeah. Hey y'all. Good evening, everybody. Hello, everyone. Good evening to all my grinders. Oh, we're about to get it. I'm telling you.
Let's get it. So what's a grinder?
A grinder is somebody who sticks to what they supposed to do, and they grind out they grind out everything. They get right to the root of it. They're not wishy-washy, and they start making results. Because it's not enough to be sitting. You got to be productive. Right. It's not enough to complain, because everything. If you can't complain, anybody can complain. So you want to make sure that you focus on what you're doing. You take the highs, you take the lows, and you continue to do your craft. By doing that, you can become a grinder.
All right. Now, you know, every time I ask that question, we get some of the basis of the same answer, but it seems like we add something, or we expand on something, or expound on a little more of it. And I think I like many of the different definitions that we have, but I think I really like this one.
Yeah, I always like the grinders. The grinders they always dear to my heart. I'm a grinder, so all grinders, I'll be like, I can get with a person who's consistent. They have stick-to-itness, they have determination. So if you're a grinder and you can do your craft, and you can stick to the highs and the lows, oh yeah, you're a grinder.
All right, grinders. All right.
And we'll see you out there.
If that's you, and you know that you are a grinder based on that definition of being a grinder, I want you to type it in the chat. Say, I am a grinder. Yeah, I'm a grinder. I am a grinder. Type it in the chat there, because it's important that you know who you are. You know, it's important that you know who you are, and that you're not just doing things just to be doing things, but you grinding some things out. And so when you're grinding things up, it has a tendency of taking things that's large and breaking it down into small pieces. You know, grinding it out have a tendency of taking something that's rough and smoothing it out. You know, when you're grinding it out, you know, you're able to take something that may seem to be like it's hard, and you can soften it up. And so when we think about a grinder, a literal grinder, and you think about all of the highs and lows, the situations, circumstance, and conditions that oftentimes we face as we go forth in life. My son said like this: life be lifing. And so when life be lifing, when you're a grinder, you don't fall apart. You grind that thing out.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've been talking about this whole idea of accelerating, and not just accelerating when it comes to increasing your financial status. We're talking about accelerating when it comes to paying off debt. You know, accelerating when it comes to manifesting your goals. You know, we talk about acceleration. You know, accelerating, and in order to accelerate, you have to have clarity. Clarity is what births acceleration. So when you have clarity, then you can accelerate. And so we've been talking about three things. We've been talking about the whole idea of the definition when it comes to acceleration. and then we're talking about hope, or expectation when it comes to acceleration. And then we were talking about application, how do we apply that. And so last week we covered the definition of acceleration, hope. We talked about hope and expectation and how important that is. And then we began to talk about application. And when we start talking about application, then that's when we start getting into the nuts and bolts, and it will start to get real good and juicy. We started getting quite a few questions in the chat room, and before we know it, we was out of time. Yeah,
Yes, time flew by a whole lot faster when it started getting good.
and
It's
so
like
we
a good
want
episode.
to, yeah, so we want to pick it up right, kind of where we left off at, and continue to talk about the application of acceleration, and the whole idea of when you take that formula and put it to use, then it can create that snowball effect. And
Yes.
so, James, when we look at where we left off at last week, how we want to jump in there this week.
Uh, Hold on. We can actually go. We can go back. So I can go back and explain what a snowball method is.
Mm-hmm.
I'll briefly cover what SMART goals, because I think everything builds upon itself. So
Okay.
I'll go back over SMART goals. I'll tell everybody, hey, this is what a SMART goal is. This is how it looks, and we'll just move from that into the snowball. So because if you don't have SMART goals, that means that you're not being effective at telling yourself or assigning what the acceleration is doing.
Okay.
And if you're not good at if you're not good at setting and saying, hey, I'm accelerating my debt, I'm accelerating my increases. If you're not good at assigning those things, then even though you have acceleration money, it's not productive. And
Okay.
productivity is really key to getting anybody out of debt, and also putting more money into a project that they're doing, or increasing the foothold that they have.
Okay. All right. No, that's fair. That's fair. Because when you understand the thing, then you can apply it.
Yes.
We were because we kind of in the application phase anyway. So being able to understand what these terms are and how to apply them, it becomes make it easier now for those of you who are really wanting to see change in your financial situation. You'll be able to have some tools to apply it. And so, oftentimes I find people have a tendency of being gorging out like a fat cat on knowledge. So they soaking up all this knowledge, and they can regurgitate the things that you're teaching. And but when you look at their own life, they're not applying it in their own life.
Yeah.
And so it's important that not only that we get an understanding. The Bible tells us, in all thy getting, he
Get
said,
an understanding.
get an understanding. And so when we get an understanding, it's for the purpose of application.
Yes.
So it's not for, our brains is not like our our brains is like a savings account. There you go. Yeah. And it don't supposed to park there forever. You know what I mean? Our
I understand.
our brains are creative. So when we put something on our brain takes that thing and multiplies it. It doesn't stay in the same form that it originated in. That
Yeah.
makes sense. I'm getting too deep.
Actually, the brain incident was so good. I was like, oh, I gotta type that one down. That's actually
Yeah, it's important because people they gather knowledge. People are so smart. They gather knowledge and they gather information and they store it on their brain, but they never really do anything with it. Our brains was made for creativity. Um, you know, hard drives, tablets. What's the little gadget we use to write on?
the phone, the remarkable.
The
Yeah.
remarkable, the phone. Those things are made for storage. But
Yeah.
our brains was never meant for storage. Our brains were always meant for creativity. So
Yeah.
when I give my brain a task, it creative juices kick in, and my brain will take what I give it and it'll multiply it, you know. And
That's the
so
biggest thing.
yeah, and so but what happens a lot of times if we put stuff on our brains and we just let it park there. You know, we gather all this information, we gather all these formulas, and we gather all of the definitions and things, and then it sit there. We can regurgitate it, but we don't see no manifestation in our lives. And so it's important that as we get these understandings of SMART goals or snowball method, and we get these understandings, it's supposed to bring an awareness to us that we're able to spot opportunities to make these things happen or see those things in work in progress. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's so important. I don't know if I'm getting too deep tonight or not. I feel like I got a deep spirit tonight.
No, I'm with you. The biggest thing you want to let everybody know is don't sit down on information. You
Yeah.
have information, get it together.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
One thing I do know is that it was a quote about the people who get A's typically work for people who have B's, typically working for the guy who made a C in the class. And the reason why they're saying that is the person who made a C is going to be the guy who tries. And that unfortunately sometimes freezes people because they're frozen in the unknown. They're frozen in the I have enough information to be dangerous.
Okay.
But you're not trying to be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
No, I want you to be as dangerous as possible. I want you to assign your money. I want you to get out there and take risks because that's what it is. That's the only way for your money to do something is to take a risk.
Yeah.
If it sit inside your savings account, guess what? 1 year can go by and you're gonna have the same amount of money, just of less value.
Yeah.
Or, and this the key, or you can apply yourself. And when you apply yourself, your acceleration, the money that you're assigning is going to do one thing. It's either getting you out of debt faster,
mm-hmm.
or it's going to increase your pocketbook faster.
Right.
But it only can be activated if you apply it. So that's the funnest thing about a lot of things that people love to get information on. And my biggest thing is, or something in which I always been striving to do, is to find the right person to give information to. It's not enough to give it to anybody. It's do I have the right person who can receive the information and they will utilize that information to actually further themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Because that's what we want, right? At the end of the day, you know, that's why we're here on Financial Fridays, because we want to hear some success stories. We want to hear where you have taken the information and applied it and you're seeing manifestation. That's so important. And, you know, we all can be doing something different, you know, as far as to occupy our time. We don't have to be online right now and doing this, but we're doing this because we believe in what we're doing. We know that it works, and we want to see you experience financial freedom. But it's not going to happen without you putting things in practice, and you're not going to be able to put things in practice if you don't have a clear understanding of what they are. So let's go ahead and get into our lesson for the ninth, for that time catch up on us.
Oh yeah, that time does have a way of catching up on us. It does have a way. Let me see if everything is there. We go. Let me see if I can press the present button so we can get it. There we go. So remember, everything is about Financial Fridays is to accelerate you. So with this one, we're talking about, we're going to go back into the snowball method. We talked about SMART goals. So when you talk about SMART goals, we're talking about goals that have a purpose. They have a timeline. They have meaningful and relevant. So if you are a snowboarder, a relevant goal is to have another snowboard or to take lessons to do something that's in the snow, because they got to be relevant to what you're doing. If you want to do snowboarding, it got to be specific. You got to say, I want to be an amateur snowboarder by, because you got to have a time, and then you add the date into it, and you got to give yourself an expectation. Let me make sure I got this right. Let me go back. I think it's 2 back. Excuse me. This is just an example. It says by December 13th, 2024, I will have $2,000 in my money market to play for closing costs. And the reason why you want to have that is that when you talk about SMART goals, it's specific. It has a measurable amount, which is $2,000. It tells you exactly where it's going, which is your money market. And it is relevant to you. So for me, I'm a person who buys houses. So to have a closing cost is something that is very common with buying houses. So having enough money to buy houses are relevant. It's time specific. It is. I think I got the whole 5. Is it specific? Yes. Is it relevant to what I'm smart? Is it measurable? Yes, you can measure that I did collect $2,000. Is it is accurate? MSMA. I'm trying to figure out if I got right. Is it achievable? A is achievable. Yes, it's achievable. I can do that based on the money in which I got come in. R is relevant. Is it relevant? That means, is it in line with what I normally do? Yes, it is. And is it time bound? Yes, it is. By being at December 13th, 2024, it is the last Friday that happens before you get into the New Year celebration. So everything makes that a SMART goal. Okay. Moving beyond a SMART goal is now how do you execute a debt snowball? So with a debt snowball, you're listing all of your debts from the highest to the lowest, all your debts. And then you're paying the minimum on all of your debts. So you're paying the minimum. And then what is left is now you're putting your acceleration money into the smallest debt. By doing that, over time, you will eventually pay off your smallest debt. And then you'll take the minimum payment that you used to pay plus your acceleration payment, put it together, and then you will redo that same process. And the biggest point that I want to make sure I'm conveying is that you want to make sure that you're doing the same process. There is not a time to get very high technical. It's not a time to try to readjust the wheel. As the snowball is happening, when I show it to you, just make sure that you understand that the snowball is taking the minimum balance from the smallest debt, and you're using that with your acceleration to pay more money off of the principal, which makes or in turns has less interest. So then as you do that, you will pay it down faster and you'll be more efficient at what you're doing.
Okay. All right. Now let's make sure we're getting that, because there seemed to be a disconnect between, you listing your debts, you're paying the minimum, right? Yes. And then you paying the smallest debt. All right. So when you say that, are you saying that we list the debts and then we add them all up and we pay the smallest, we pay the minimum, and what's left over, we pay the smallest debt?
So let me make sure I clarify. So
we're not. I mean,
I do understand what you mean. That's what Steph said. I got to re-clarify this. So when you talk about your 40%, which is what you're living off of, some people are higher, some people are maintaining. So when you're inside of your regular living expenses, all of your bills are paid off your regular living expenses. Now, when you say what is all paid, that's what you write down, your listings. Hey, guess what? I have these 2 credit cards. I have this 1 house loan. Cool. You got 3 accounts that are debt accounts. And I'm not talking about your electric bill. And maybe your water bill if you're behind on your water bill because it has an accumulation of debt. But it's typically something in which it's not that it's paying month to month. It's something in which a debt that you have over time, and now you're paying down the debt. So the goal is to write down all of your debts So be as truthful or as honest as you can to yourself. So you write down all of your debts, and then at the end, you're writing down the total of all of your debts. By writing down the total of all your debts, you now can list them from top to bottom. The lowest one is at the top, or the lowest one is at the bottom. It typically depends on you, but you want to make sure that they're listed from highest to lowest.
Okay.
Or from lowest to highest, depending on how people see it.
Mm-hmm.
When you get done listing all of your debts, you're taking the lowest debt. So after you get done paying all of your minimums for all of your debts that you have out there, you're going to use your acceleration money, and you will apply that to the smallest debts principal.
Okay.
And then you will continue to do that until you pay off the smallest debt. Once you pay off the smallest debt, you're now going to take that minimum balance that you used to pay for your smallest debt, and you're going to take your acceleration. You're going to combine them and then start on the next one in your list. By doing that over time, or by the time you get to the second or third payment, the second or third credit card, you will see that you have a good chunk of money that is being used to pay off all of your debts. That is the snowball method.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that's pretty simple.
Yeah, I've used this method on numerous of times.
Mm-hmm.
So typically I use this method after I get done renovating the house and everything is going good. Excuse me. I go back and I look at the different loans or credit lines that I have out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually use this exact method. I pay off the smallest one first. And the reason why you do that, because you actually feel like a sense of excitement or celebration. When you pay off a credit card or a credit line, you tell yourself, oh man, this is good. I can do this. And then that exuberation, that celebration allows you to do it again and again and again. And if you do it correctly, you're taking the full minimum and you're applying that minimum plus your acceleration to another credit card. So now you're paying all the minimums, and now you're doing twice as much to the principal, and typically you're doing 3 times much to the principal than you would be normally.
Okay. All right. Now that's good. Though. That's good. That's very good. And I say again, they're simple steps, and I was only trying to reiterate it to make sure that everyone was understanding what we're saying here. And so then you get your list, you list your debts, and then you pay minimum, and then you target that smallest debt to pay it off. And then when you pay that smallest debt off, you have momentum. And then so you repeat it and you go to that next smallest debt and you follow that same process, and you continue to follow that same process till you pay them all off. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Kool-Aid. Okay.
And I also got examples set up so people can see it how it looks.
Okay.
As well as timelines, so everyone can be understanding of how timelines look.
Because the timeline definitely will be dictated based on the debt and what you're paying on it, as far as availability, because we're talking about using the 40%, but as we said before, somebody might be living on 70%.
Yes.
And so it depends on where you are on that scale, is how you're going to be able to make those adjustments. But no matter where you are on the scale, small adjustments, you can still, this formula will still work for you, because this formula is like a principle. It works for anybody, anywhere, at any time. And so it doesn't matter how big your debt is or how small your debt is. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how much money you don't have. If you follow this formula, it's just a matter of time that you'll begin to get rid of debt.
Yes.
All right. And so It's a real simple formula. The most important part is discipline. Got to stay with it. And again, if it's something that you don't understand, it's important that you kind of let us know, because you got to have an understanding. All right. Now, um, being able to get to a place where you are experiencing financial freedom, you have to be able to understand you have to take control over your finances. You have to drive it. Somebody got to be driving this financial vehicle. All right. And that's a metaphor. All right. And so somebody got to take responsibility for where the vehicle is, where you are financially. And it's okay. It's okay. Admit it and quit it. It's okay. You know, but you have to be able to decide, you know, where you are and where you want to go, and then it is what it is. And so being able to say, okay, I'm going to take full responsibility for my finances where I am, and I'm going to set my smart goal um, for where I want to be. And then I'm going to make a commitment to begin to pay off some of this debt, or all of my debt, in little pieces at a time. And I'm going to follow these formulas that you've just learned, and you're gonna keep doing it and repeat it every time you do it. You're gonna keep doing it and repeat it, and you're gonna have momentum. And before you know it, you have paid off the smallest bill. Now you're knocking off the medium-sized bills, and before you know it, now you're knocking off the big bills. And then before you know it, now you're reassigning that money that you were spending on debt. Now you're reassigning that money and increasing maybe your CDs or your investment, or now you're able to have that money that you were paying out that was not loving you back. Now you'll be able to take that money, and now that money will be able to work for you, and now that money will be paying you back. Yeah, and then you're gonna like that right there. Am I saying it right?
Yes. After you done with your snowball, then you start building your mountain.
Hmm.
So yes, you are absolutely right.
All right. So let's see what else we have on the list. Um,
So this is the example of the snowball method. So if you was to take whatever amount you have, I'm using $125. So you will write your debts down. The debt for 6,000, debt for 15, and a debt for 25. It also, along with that, it also has the interest rates, which is 10%, 17, and 20. If those are your interest rates, you're typically paying $75 for a 6K, 15 for $156 for 15,000, and $263 for $25,000. Now, if you was to scan these out, some of these you won't be able to pay for a whole lifetime, which is the 25,000 for the 25,000 at 20%. When I say a lifetime, I do mean it's going to take about anywhere, depending on how fast it is, it'll take anywhere from 10 to 20 years to pay off that $25,000.
okay,
So the goal is not to take 20 years to pay off $25,000.
that's right.
The goal is to try to pay it off as soon as possible. So using the snowball method, I will show you how fast it is to pay off $25,000.
And that we want to see. I am typing in the. Oh, that's you. I'm typing in the chat in the um. Anyway.
I got people chiming in,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
trying to get this. Is that really you? Yes.
So, all right.
I love my people. They always.
All right, let's get back to it there. These electronic devices is great, but they have a tendency of you know interrupting you. They come when you anyway. So let's keep Cadillacing. So I hope that that's plain. That's real plain. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm ready to take my debt cancellation up to another level as a
Yeah.
result of this information. And it's so we have to be determined that we want to be financially free. All right. And so now he's saying that we can look at 125 and be able to pay that off in a small amount of time. Okay, let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
So right now, just this is the basics of the snowball method. So if you got $6,000 at 10%, paying $75, it's going to take you about 10 years to pay off $6,000. The problem is, it shouldn't. That's a long time to pay off $6,000. So if you just pay the minimum, you will pay 10 years. You can also see this when you get your credit card statements. It has it listed on there. It says if you pay the minimum, and it gives you the amount of years it would take to pay off just the minimum. And when they say just the minimum, it means the minimum without you buying more items as the car gets lower.
Okay.
So if it's going to be if your minimum balance is a 10-year out balance, I'm just telling you, they're getting paid a lot faster than you are due to interest or compound interest. So when you take the acceleration, and in this case, the example is $125. So you're going to take 6,000, you're going to pay the $75, and then you're going to also apply $125 in acceleration. If you was to do the math, you're typically paying about 2 2/3 more. So you're at a 233% more money is being flushed into that $6,000. Based on that, instead of paying it in 10 years, you'll have it done in 3 years. Is not the fastest, but this is definitely the safest option.
Okay.
So this is the safest option, and this is why it's the safest option. So it's not instantaneous. However, it's not 10 years. And what will take you 10 years, you're now paying it down in 3 years. And I will show you just how fast that looks.
Okay. How fast does that look?
Yes. And now at the end, I'll show you just how everything looks. So if that's the first debt is $6,000, your second debt is $15,000. Yep, there you go. Your second debt is $15,000. At $15,000 at 17% interest, you're paying $156. That means for you only to pay off $15,000 at 17%, you're paying, it's going to take you around 12 years to pay off that $15,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the problem. Because some people are paying a company just to make sure that they stay in debt. So we want to make sure we transition you out of paying a company to make sure you stay in debt. And the reason for that is because compounding interest. So every month you're paying 17% on the remaining balance, which means most of your money is going towards interest. The least amount of your money is going towards your actual principal payment. And that's the reason why a lot of people, even though they're paying monthly because they want to pay monthly, they want to pay it off, they often see that their debt is about relatively the same. And that's because, unfortunately, they can make money off you paying the minimums versus having you pay it all off.
Okay.
However, if you use your acceleration, remember, you're now paying $75, and that was from the minimum balance of the 6K plus $125. That means your acceleration is now up to $200. If you was to apply that $200 to the payment of $156, you are now paying $356 versus $156. That will bring your debt from 15K in 10 years. That will bring your debt from $15,000 with a 10% interest down from 12 years to 4 years.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not instantaneous. However, you can see that $15,000 being paid in 4 years is a lot doable. It's a lot more doable than you waiting for them to lower your principal payment.
Oh yeah. Now, even though it doesn't seem like, acceleration from the standpoint of instant, it is accelerated because when you talk about, 12 years versus 4 years, and when you talk about all of the extra interest that you would have been spending when it comes to if you would have stayed with that long term, just paying, what they're asking. Not only are you accelerating paying it off, and you also creating a serious cash flow because the interest that you would have been paying out plus the payment, now all of that becomes available to you to reassign.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's good. We're gonna have to charge extra for this financial Friday. So
Yeah.
we got to renegotiate. We got to renegotiate the cost of this one. That is awesome, especially when you can see how simple that looks, and actually how simple it is, and how doable. That's really doable. Now the key is being able to take that accelerated amount and apply it towards that lower debt. And oftentimes, what happens is you you got that $200 freed up, but instead of you putting it on that to accelerate it, you go and you do something else with it, and you
And now
end
you
up.
back in debt again.
Yeah, there you go.
Trying to figure out what happened. Well, I
Right.
can tell you. I can tell you. And I think that's the problem that even I struggled with when I was first striving to get it correct.
Hmm.
And people don't understand, like, no one ever gets it correct on the first try. You
Yeah.
typically are trial and error in it. You're telling yourself, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
I know it works. I just got to get myself to do what works.
Yeah.
And then once you see it, the benefit is once you see it in action, then your confidence goes a lot higher. Once you see your debt fall off, you like, I don't have that credit card no more. You feel better. And then once you can see your other credit card falls off, or you can see that you're actually making improvements.
Right.
Those another thing in which gives you a whole new level when you can see that you make a payment and $300 is going towards the principal versus you making a payment and $56 is going towards the principal, but you still paid a $356. You paid $156 and only $50 is going back to the principal. You know how long it'll take if you fathom that out and was like, oh, okay, that's why it's taking me forever to pay off. Yes, it's because you're paying more to a company just to make sure that you stay in debt. But if you're accelerating it, then you're paying more attention to it. And now you can pay it off a lot faster.
Yeah. And if you understand what you're doing and you can see that, now you position yourself where you can use, they used to call it OPP. I think it was OPP.
Other people
No,
money?
yeah. Then you can position yourself to be able to use other people's money, because now you have a formula that you could pay it back right away, and as long as what you're doing with it is going to bring you more money than it's sitting somewhere else, then you could do that. And so you don't want to get the money that's going to cost you 10% interest, and then you go use it for something that call you 15% interest. You know what I mean? Because then, even though you can, that's not the way to do it. You want to be able to now position yourself where now the choices that you're making is based on what's the return on your investment. Your
Yeah.
ROI. What's your return? And so the key to all of it is a word that we don't like to use, and that word is discipline. And discipline, Pastor Bridget, um, she defines the word discipline as forced obedience. And that means that in order to be disciplined, You have to force yourself to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
To do what you know. You gotta. It's not going to be a natural thing. That's why, if you're a spiritual person, you understand that our flesh can get in the way, and our flesh be craving to do things that's going to be more narcissistic centered when it comes to what I want or what I'm about. And a lot of times your flesh will cry out when you're trying to do something that's going to better yourself. And as a result of it, then you find yourself buying into the emotions of it, or buying into the fear, which breeds doubt, or buying into the overwhelmance of it as being problems or whatever, or even get into this logical thing where, you're just too smart for your own self, you know, but you don't have to overthink this thing, you know. If you follow the formula, you don't have to overthink it. If you follow the formula, be patient, small steps, small adjustments, you will see instant results. Did I just say instant results?
You did say instant.
I said instant results.
You
Yeah.
said instant.
Amen. And my Cash App name is Dr. Come on, we're gonna keep on going. Keep on going. We got about 15 minutes there.
Okay. So the next thing is to take your total debt. Now, this is the biggest.
Hold on, before you do that, let me just say this. Type in the chat for me. Discipline is the key. Discipline is the key. Come on, type that in the chat for me. Discipline is the key. Discipline is the key. Discipline is the key. All right, discipline is the key. All right, come on. So we're talking about debt snowball. Here you go. 25K. Come on, talk to us.
Okay, so 25K is the last one, but it's also one of the biggest. When people are looking at $25,000, you're paying $263 for 20%. Now, the low end, that means as the soonest you will be able to pay this off is 11 years. It has went as high as 18 years, but the lowest was 11 years. And I'm not trying to wow anybody with a bunch of numbers, so I picked the lowest. The lowest was 11 years, so I chose 11 years. Mm-hmm. However, if you take your acceleration, that means you're adding your discipline is key. That means that you're now adding your 75 that you used on the first one. You're adding the $156 you used on the second one, and you're adding your acceleration of $125. That gives you $356 to utilize to accelerate your debt at $25,000.
All right, listen, I see it in the chat there. Discipline is key. Discipline is key. All right. Come on, keep on going.
Now, if you was to just imagine having an additional $356 per month coming in. That's an additional. That's what happens when you accelerate and you're doing the debt snowball method. You're taking your acceleration for 125, adding $75 to it because that's the first one, and now you're adding $156 to it. You now got $356. If you was to put that with your payment of $263, that means you're now paying a total of $619. That means you will have $25,000 paid off in 4 years.
Yeah.
So think about the cost of a car, the half the price of a truck. All of that would be paid off in 4 years.
Wow.
$25,000 in 4 years. And so that's the benefit of the debt snowball. Now, let's say instead of you having 3 credit cards or 3 debts, you now have 30 or as high as 10, or some people have 12. If you have more, then you have the ability to pay off more. And once you get the correct acceleration happening, you will see that you are snowballing into success.
Okay. All right. And that's some good numbers, because now you went from paying off debt as far as credit cards and small debt to now you're positioned that you can begin to pay off car notes.
Yes.
Because $25,000, that's a car. You can pay that off, And instead of following the formula that they give you that puts you in, lock you in for 6 years, now you able to pay that off in 4 years.
Yes.
You know, and so that's so powerful. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
and the goal is still the same. You want to use it to make sure all your debt is paid off, and then once your debt is paid off, you're using that same amount of money to increase yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show you that, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So remember, if you take the acceleration, you take the debt that you paid off, the other snowball you paid off, and now you take the third one. That means you're walking around with a freed up amount of about $600+. Just imagine what you could do with an additional $600 a month.
Okay.
So you was like, what can I do with 600? Well, that's a car note and insurance freed up. That means if you was to open up a CD today, you will have $600+ to put inside that CD. That means if you want to open a money market that takes about $1,000 to start, you can already wait another month and you will have a CD open at $1,200. If you did stocks and bonds, how many stocks can you buy at $600 a pop? There's a lot of them out there, quite a few actually, and some of them are actually really good and decent that still sells at a reasonable amount. So now you're already doing stocks, you're already doing bonds, and you're already improving.
Okay.
The biggest thing that you can think of is, how do I help myself? Because you can remember, once you get freed up, now you're free to help someone else, or you're free to improve yourself.
Mm-hmm. And that's important. Not only just the whole idea. Now, when it comes to helping somebody else, it's always important to be careful with that, because you're always going to be subject to people who, they may say that they really want to see financial freedom, but they may not, actually, you know, put the effort in. So make sure that you're connecting with people when you're sharing this or helping someone. You're connecting with people who already have signs that they are putting in some effort. All
Yeah.
right, so that you don't use a lot of your energies trying to get somebody to move from 0 to 100. Try to find somebody who's already on the way. All right,
Yeah, it's
that's just a
always
side
easy.
note.
It's always easy to help somebody who's moving.
Yeah,
A stalled car is hard to push, but if
yeah.
you got a car already going 60, you can push it to 65. Trust me, it'll get there. It
Okay.
will get there. So,
All right. So we got about 10 minutes. Let's see how much we can get done.
oh yeah, okay. Then it's easy. We go back to it. I'll show you how everything works. Now, the benefit is time. That's how everything works, is off time. So if you was to pay it off, if you do just the debt snowball, right? This is the final payment. 263 is now $619. You're paying it off in 4 years. The benefit of that is, if you did not do it, let's say you don't do it, you don't believe in it, or you got all the knowledge but you don't have no application.
Mm-hmm.
If you was to add this up, it would take you 33 years to pay off $46,000. That means that your house you wouldn't be able to get, because $46,000 is going to be paid off in 33 years.
Wow.
Now, we can, as easy as that is to do the math, it's happening to us on a daily basis. The average American is still over debt by at least 1.5% of what they bring in. Credit cards are rampant, and they know that they're rampant, so they're willing to give you a credit card to put yourself in debt. That is the gamble. It's not Vegas, it's us. So that's the gamble. How do you facilitate doing that? Now, if you just use the acceleration, this is you using and assigning the money that you already have coming in.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to do that, it'll look something like this.
Okay.
That means at the end of this, it will take you 11 years, 11 years to pay off $46,000. The difference is if it takes you 4 years to pay off $46,000, once it's paid off, that means it will take you 4 years to make more than $46,000. So now, if you was to do the math correctly or incorrectly, you get 10 years to get yourself out. You give yourself 10 years. That's how much further you are starting off everyone that's around you.
Mhm.
Because I always am one for, it's not just for you, it's for everyone around you. It's not that you will give all your money away, it's that you can be an example to others and say, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it, these are the benefits, and this is what it looks like. So by doing that, you can raise the bar for everybody and for everyone to be aware that this is how you accelerate yourself out of debt. And if you live to be old enough, like me, you can start seeing that if you live to be old enough like me, you can start seeing that money is now being used to accelerate what you already have coming in and out. And that is the benefit of doing the snowball method. It makes things a lot easier to understand as well as to grow.
Okay. All right. I think that's good. I think that's to me is very understandable, so that you're able to take those that information and actually walk that information out. And like I said before, discipline is key. And so being able to understand that you're not freeing up your money so you can spend your money. You're freeing up your money so that you can pay off the debt that you have, so that you can experience financial freedom. And as you get to that place, then it's about now taking the money and using it in the way that it can make money for you, so that now you're putting your money on assignment, so that when you sleep, your money is making money.
Oh, that feels good, dude.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's financial freedom right there. And that's where we want you to be. All right.
Yes.
That's where we want you to be. Now, I know for some that might have been a lot, especially with all the different numbers and things of that sort. But it's really, really simple. We're taking whatever your living expenses are. We want you to be at 40, but if you're at 70, if you're at 80, wherever you are, and you designated that portion towards that debt that you have already paid,
Yes.
right? But now you want to take it and use it. You're going to recalculate the minimum payment. And let's say you're going to, after you list your bills and say your bills come up to $500 that you're spending. And so you're going to go recalculate that. What are those minimums? So the minimum, let's say the minimum come out to be $400. So now you have an extra $100 there that you can take now and add to whatever you pay into your smallest bill. So it'll be 100 and whatever that is. And now you're tacking that smallest bill every month, every payment, until you see that thing go away. But when it
Yes.
go away, you don't go back and start using it again and piling it back up.
Yes.
What I say, discipline is the key. All right.
Yes.
And then you do that, and then you repeat it, and you keep repeating it until you knocking all of that debt out. And then once you get your debt knocked out, then you reposition yourself to be able to reassign your money, so that now your money can make money while you sleep.
And that is a good feeling. That's a good feeling of knowledge, to just know that my money is working harder than me. That's the goal for everybody. Make your money work.
Yeah. Yeah. Make your money work. Yeah. I'm gonna write that down. Yeah, maybe I should write it down too. Write it in chat. Make my money work. Say that.
Yes.
Make my
Make
money work.
my money work. Yes.
Yeah, I like all them M's. Triple M works. All right. Triple the M works. I don't know.
Yes. Yes, because
Make my money work. Yeah.
that's if you have and when I say make your money work, I do mean, let's say you have a friend in business and your friend is already in business and the business is already doing good and they are the ones who need more capital. Wouldn't it be beneficial to be like, okay, cool, I see what you're doing and you're trying to do a new structure. I got a check I can write for you. And now you're in business, making money.
Yeah.
It's better doing that than saying, I don't know what I can do. Let me see if the bank is going to approve me. Or you could be like, no, I already got that in the bank.
Yeah.
I already had it. Let me just write this check and let me keep moving.
Yeah.
And people don't understand, like those people exist. And it's in a conglomerate of skin colors. So it's not just one culture that has it. Trust me, all cultures that have understood the way that it works and applied themselves.
Yeah.
The money may not be as fast as you want it, but once you get to that mountaintop, once the debt snowball has hit the pinnacle and all that debt is gone, just remember how much money now you're bringing in. And if you assign it correctly and properly, you'll get it done.
Yeah. And we're talking about assigning every penny.
Yes.
Every dime that comes in, we're talking about reassigning it. And so we're not looking at money anymore as that's just a small amount of money. No. We're looking at every cent that comes in. Now you're assigning that, and just like you have the debt snowball, you can have the financial freedom snowball.
Yes.
Yeah, where you can start seeing yourself freeing up. Come on.
Pastor, before we get off, I just want to make sure I touch bases. Now we had one person who asked this question, and I had to go back and look at my books. So we can do one more. This is what a question asked me was, what are the 3 books? So, is Rich Dad Poor Dads, but it's not Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's the Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. This is one of the first books that I read where the financial literacy was there. So once you read it, you'll have a good understanding of what financial literacy is and what quadrant you fall yourself into.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. Number 2. Did you have 2? I think you froze on me. Like a deer in headlights. Well, listen, we're just about out of time here on Financial Freedom on Financial Friday, talking about financial freedom. And so he was sharing the 3 books that we had. Someone last week was asking about the book, so there he is. He's back with me.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't know what happened. Okay, so let me make sure I get this as soon as possible because I don't want anything to. There we go. Okay,
so that's book number 2. So
this
we talked about
Quadrant.
Book number 1, and so book number 2 is
next one is John C. Maxwell. He's a Christian leader. He writes a lot of books. The big thing about Today Matters is not just about having the understanding, is about how you're applying it. So when I tell you everything you do today matters for tomorrow, that's what Today Matters is all about. It's about making sure that you have an understanding of an objective that's further than just today. So everything you do today is assigned for tomorrow.
Okay.
The last one is Property Management Kit for Dummies. It has a wealth of knowledge in it, and it's based on the understanding that you can understand it. It's based on the understanding that you will understand this.
All right. Well, listen, we are out of time. We thank you again for tuning into another Financial Friday. We pray that this have been very helpful for you. These been a great formula, and we believe if you put this formula into practice, you will see results. And so until next week, we'll see you on next Friday on Financial Friday. Peace. We out of here.
I'll see all y'all.